Distinguished delegates, I am very pleased to be a presenter in Zhengzhou, China, at the Third World Emerging Industries Summit. It is not at all common for a guy from central Georgia, from a town nobody ever heard of, to be presenting to a major international conference. And it is most unusual that I appear as I do to you now, that is, dressed in a cooking smock. Why? The thrust of my talk is finding the creatives within your corporation or country. And in this presentation, I'm going to make the case that individuals who may look quite unlike yourselves may be some of the most valuable members of your corporation or country, even though they may not presently be recognized. How to identify these people, what they're like, what their capabilities are, and what they can do for the corporation, for the country, and for the world. Life isn't a simple thing. Now, there are few absolutes, and most human experiences are more like calculus. We as humans try, and we make our efforts, and sometimes they succeed, and sometimes they fail, and sometimes they halfway succeed. And in all of this, we go back and forth, and generally, hopefully, make positive advances towards science, the arts, and civilization in general. But it is seldom a straight line path. It's more like the sculpture that I have here. You see, starting off in the upper right, there are a few little tentative things that come out and branch, and all of a sudden there's a great blossoming. They flow down a stream, they split, they come back together, start off in a new direction, and then separate and depart in two different directions. Now, this is how progress is done. It is seldom simple, and it is more nearly a series of stumblings along than we would really like to see or imagine in science, but nonetheless, this is sort of how it's done, particularly when you start talking about very messy areas of government, religion, and philosophy. Now, who are these people I'm talking about? Now, these are the rare, multi-talented individuals who are literally the Leonardo da Vinci's of the modern world. Very versatile, interesting folk. Now, just from the U.S., and any country could provide their own examples, we have Benjamin Franklin. He was a scientist, he was a diplomat, he was an author. Thomas Jefferson, he worked in philosophy, he worked in government, very interested in the agricultural sciences, in exploration. Alexander Graham Bell, an extremely innovative individual, not only responsible for the telephone, but for many other things. Thomas Edison, prolific inventor. Now, his particular field was everything having to do with electricity. Howard Hughes, he was famous in his early life as an aviating pioneer. He set many records. He also was an aircraft designer. He ran a successful multinational company. And he had some very severe problems mentally, particularly toward the end. But nonetheless, he made some remarkable contributions to society. What did they do? Well, they made contributions collectively and individually to industry, science, the arts, government, and religion. Not all of them dabbled in everything, but many of them dabbled in several of these different fields, and some quite seriously. Thomas Jefferson, for example, had a strong interest in religion, as well as government and science. What makes people creatives? Well, genetics plays an undoubted part. Equally important are mother and child nutrition. The developing brain, particularly the early brain, needs to be fed. It needs to have proteins, it needs to have some fats, And for it to develop well and have the potential to achieving, childhood nutrition is significant and very important. Environment. Everything in the environment affects us. There's the natural environment, what conditions are like growing up. Are you in famine? Are you in war? Are you being displaced? The cultural environment, is this an enriching cultural experience? We find individuals who are culturally deprived may indeed survive, but do not nearly reach their full potential. What their formal training is, well, now this we have down fairly well through the university systems and so on and so on and so on for the people who are able to attend and take advantage of these possibilities. Work training, significantly important and becoming increasingly so. Yes, an individual reporting to work needs to have a basic set of skills, but oftentimes these days, particularly in the IT industry, the advances are coming so fast that the most significant training is really on the job. And some companies are trying to take people right out of high school and put them immediately into the workforce. I'm not sure that I altogether agree with this approach. However, it is being done. Life experiences, working in a group. Since World War II, there has been a very large emphasis on group work and group think. And there is merit in this, and some very significant advances have been made, both in the sense of discovery, in progress of work, in increasing efficiency in the workplace, and in getting more people involved. However, this is not the be-all or an end-all, nor does it suit all people, as we'll get around to in a little bit. Solitary work. Work people do by themselves. We are all different human creatures. Not all of us respond best in any given situation. Some people need, want, and really thirst for group interactive experiences. Others do best, when left alone, to find their own solutions to their own problems or other people's. Give them an assignment, put them away, let them work on it, and let them come back with you. See what they got. Okay, is work, not work, good, bad, indifferent. Okay, have them develop it some more, come back to you. This kind of approach. Societal. Some people are more socially active than others. Because a person is not particularly socially active does not mean he can't contribute. Far from it. As we'll see later, one of the characteristics of these creative people is they tend to be socially challenged. Not everyone is, but many are. Rewards. Financial is the obvious one, but it's not the only one. And in fact, many people in this category have passing or little interest in financial reward so far as accumulating great wealth goes. Yeah, it's nice to have, but that's not what drives them. Cultural. Yes, some are driven by the need or the desire to improve the culture, to help humanity generally. An altruistic kind of look on life. Others want to do some particular thing in some particular smaller area. They have no interest in others, but they want to advance the culture of paper mache making or whatever. It may have financial and economic utility. It may not, but they're intensely interested in this particular subject area. Personal. The personal rewards that one gets from creative work are, very, very intense. And for many people, these are more important than any other factor. While it helps to have the approval of your peers and receive recognition for what you have done, a lot of people are content to get only personal rewards. And these are the people you particularly want to reach because they are in their own world and they are self-satisfying and self-satisfied. Some extremely intelligent people fall into this category. Absolutely brilliant. But their contributions to the larger humanity are diminished because they are more satisfied with what they do intellectually and personally than they are otherwise. The most important factor in developing nations and corporations, it's not natural resources. It's not situation. It's not environment. It's not culture. It's people. People are the most important national asset that a nation or corporation has. If you ignore the people, if you rely purely on the extraction of natural resources, these will ultimately be extracted. Yeah, I'm gone. Look. But if you invest in your people, if you take care of your people, if you let them be creative and individuals, then you will achieve great corporate and national success beyond what your usual expectations might be. I would give as a practical modern example the city-state of Singapore, for example. One city. Remarkable accomplishments in the third world. What are they like? These creative people do not necessarily look like the predominant population. They're scarce. They're rare individuals. And the objective of this course is to teach you how to find them, how to culture them, and how to develop them. They are not interchangeable work units. This works fine in a military organization, but not for these kinds of folks. They should be valued as individuals. They should be recognized for their individual contributions. Now, doing these and making this recognition will help these creatives be more responsive to the corporation than they might otherwise be. If you have an individual that you have browbeat into submission, yes, he will be at work and he will do his 8 hours and he may produce a prescribed number of widgets. However, so far as coming up with anything original, so far as giving anything back to the corporation, so far as having any real pride in the corporation or its future development, no, not likely. As a matter of fact, if he has any such notions, they will probably be suppressed or withheld, either suppressed by the organization itself or withheld by him. Now, these folks can be of any race, any cultural heritage, any gender, any sexual orientation, have physical or mental disabilities to some varying degrees, and of any religious faith. Yeah, this is a matter of genetic inheritance. So they could come from anywhere. They could have some or all of the following characteristics. They might be retiring and shy. They might have little interest in social activities, little interest in ordinary life. They are usually intense consumers of information of some sort. This may be written or visual or auditory. These are people who keep libraries in business. They may have difficulty in forming relationships. Their intellectual life is so rich that they have little need for other contacts. How do you find these people who do not have the chance to go to Harvard or come up through, say, the university system? Okay, how do you spot them? Okay, who puts things in your suggestion boxes? The use of suggestion boxes is now considered somewhat old-fashioned, but nonetheless, having a physical box to put something in writing into. Yeah, don't neglect that. That's still valuable and it would appeal to some people. Who volunteers to participate in project development groups? If you have a new project Ask for volunteers. Post the project, post its objectives, and say, okay, who wants to work on this? We say everybody does. Well, no, not everybody. But some will. And some will be so excited about the idea of getting involved in something new other than what they're doing that even though they may not have all of the qualifications, they're interested. And this interest is very significant. Who participates in company-related art and science events? Every company, every corporation should have these because this is a way you spot your creative individuals. Who posts their artwork? Who puts up their hobby projects? How complex are they? What are they? Okay. You look, you see, okay. Yeah, now this guy really did something innovative. He's doing original work, and he used very simple tools. But he came up with something, we've seen it before, but for him, that was really significant. Have a Da Vinci officer in your personnel department to look out for these people. After all, if you have an undeveloped Bill Gates or Steve Jobs in your corporation and you don't recognize it, think of all the money you're losing. The same with the national government. These people are there. You just need to find them. And this finding may take a search. I would suggest that any corporation have a company store. And in this store, they stock it with textbooks, they stock it with challenging games, they stock it with computer stuff, and they discount it down so that the members can afford it or at least check it out and watch and track who uses it. Because these creatives will be flocking to this area to find stuff that they want. It may be in arts, it may be in crafts, it may be in hard science, it may be in rather abstruse areas of mathematics, but give them access to resources and see who uses them. This way you're able to track not only who takes them out, who is a creative, but you also find out in what areas. You may find that you have a mathematical wizard. Now these creatives nationally, how do you find them? They should be regarded as national treasures. And I would have national contests in the arts and sciences and in business development. Now, business development is something that may be neglected in some countries, not others, but some. And all of these should be pursued because different creatives will respond in different areas. Evoke national citizen science research projects to help solve real problems. Okay. If you have a problem with coastal flooding, all right. Make this a citizen science research project. And if you want one such, I've got one. But go ahead and start this as a national thing. And science and arts fairs should be part of an annual school activities. In secondary schools, certainly. And proceeding up through college. Have stages of competitions for original plays and films. Communication is as vital a part of industrial and national advancement as is hard science. Not only must you be able to conceive of an idea, bring it to fruition, and so on and so on and so on, you must also be able to communicate. And it is oftentimes more useful to communicate through the arts and more accessible to some people to communicate through the arts than it is through having them sit through a scientific lecture. Institute local and export markets for arts and crafts and track who participates. Now, the arts and crafts thing are a clue to creativity. Because oftentimes, if you're a creative individual and if you're stuck in a small village somewhere, this may be your only outlet. But that's not the only thing you can do. Search for creatives in prisons and mental institutions. These people may have run afoul of the law in some degree at one time or another. That is not to say they can still not be creative. A famous example from the U.S. was Carbine Williams. And he, whilst in prison, designed the .30 caliber carbine that was used by the U.S. forces during World War II. Whilst in prison, by the way. Okay? So there are individuals who are incarcerated who are nonetheless can be very creative members of society. Managing. Okay. Have scholarship programs for all levels of education. This basic need for education is critical. Nutrition is more critical. Education is only slightly less so. Once you identify a creative, the typical thing nowadays is to take a person who's made a significant contribution in science or arts or whatever, make him the head of an institution, saddle him with a whole bunch of managerial responsibilities, and he loses much of his ability to be creative because he is saddled with these everyday tasks that are basically management. And this is a terrible waste of resources. If a person is a creative, let him create. Give him space, give him time, give him resources. Another significant thing is that creativity may come at any age. He may be 17 years old. He may be 14 years old. He may be 97 years old. Before he makes his most significant creative contribution to society. This can come at any age. It can come and go. The human being is subjected to disease, accident, and death. And these can come at any stage. So if you've got somebody who's creative, get them while they are. And discovery does not necessarily have a predictable outcome. It's nice if you can connect A and B and come up with C. But sometimes you connect A and B and come up with X. No! All right. What in the world is that? Okay. Many human advances, if not most of them, have come through people who proceeded on incorrect hypotheses or absolutely wrong data, but nonetheless came up with some positive outcomes. This is to be expected. Now, if you only allow experimentation in the areas that are sure, okay, that just is small incremental advances, yeah, we'll ultimately get there. But these don't lead you to the breakthrough things, to the things that can be genuinely considered new. And these are hard to come by. But here's where your creatives can really help. Because they can take seemingly unrelated things and sometimes connect them in surprisingly useful ways. This happens. The freer the operational agreements are between industry and government with their creative population, the more productive their outputs are likely to be. If you had something like a creative colony and you put all your creatives in one colony in one place, and this has been tried, by the way, that's a good environment and it can help some people, but not necessarily all of them. As loose a framework as you can imagine, where you can support these people and give them the resources they need and allow them independently operate as much as possible, the better off you'll be. We are beset with many complex problems in society. And very often the solution to these problems is not one great, grand, invented, new, blah, 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 blah thought. But it's by taking a bunch of very simple things that are already known and reconnecting them together so they work and solve the problem. And this is how most complex things are really done. Just like a palace, you start it with laying down a single stone or a single brick or digging a hole in the ground. Simple things, even though the result may be quite complex. A space shuttle, a moon landing. Very, very complex when seen in one scope. So it has to be broken down into simple, solvable tasks and proceed. Thought, in all respects, is much the same thing, including advances in governmental science, advances in philosophy, advances in religion, and so on. These are simple steps connected together and may lead to some real practical solutions. Another thing is don't keep all the creatives in their same field. Allow them to expand, allow them to grow, allow them to be exposed to other folks. Geologists talk only to geologists. Now, geology is a very broad, extremely broad science. And so we cover everything from geology having to do with archaeology to mineral mining to paleontology. So we can do botany and so on, as well as mineral extraction and earthquakes and so on. Extremely broad science. Terrestrial science, interterrestrial science. But allow your folks to get out of their fields. Don't just send mathematicians to mathematical conferences. Allow them to go to social science conferences, whatever they interest them. Another vital thing that's commonly overlooked is we need very much to reconnect with our natural environment. Spend time in the outdoors, with nature. Nature is where all inspiration is ultimately derived. We are part of the natural environment, and this appreciation should never be lost, even if you're in finance. You must have a respect for nature. Know how natural systems operate. If you realize that, then you will realize how to better structure financial systems so they operate better. Why? How does this work? We have evolved for millions of years. Don't throw away this experience, this body of accumulated world knowledge in natural systems. Learn from it, and you will prosper for it. Reward should be structured according to a person's desires and needs. Now, these vary from individual to individual. Outlets for self-expression should be allowed. If they cannot express themselves, they will be repressed. They will not be nearly as productive as they might otherwise be. Similarly, they need to have options for self-study, learning, and growth throughout their entire lives. Education should not end at grad school. And for creatives, it will not. They will self-educate themselves. But they need to be allowed the opportunity to do that. Results. Identifying, culturing, and allowing time and space and resources for these creatives to operate will bring enormous increases in corporate, national, and social wealth. Why am I doing this? Well, I've got maybe 20 years of life left. I see death right there over the horizon and not far. So I want to show as many people how they can use their own creative instincts to advance themselves. And once these cultural and societal restraints are removed. And I would really like to see each of you succeed in this manner. And I'm going to have some fun doing it. Now, I have a video showing the motivation for all this. It's video number 2 of the Prophet series. It's up on YouTube right now. And anyone can see it anytime they wish. It explains in more depth who I am and what my level of experiences is and how I came by these positions that I take. I teach by example, and here I am with my cooking smock, same one I'm wearing now, and holding some pickled eggs. Okay, yeah, we do this kind of stuff. And my current work in progress is my book, Prophet. Now, Prophet is a very, very interesting book. It's almost totally based on my own experiences, on my own creative output. I get 4 to 10 ideas a day. I cannot possibly act on them all. So one way is to actually write them down, and I put a lot of them in this book. And so these are ideas that people can take to patent, can form businesses around, can actually use to their own advantage, and they're welcome to them. Now, how can you participate as an individual or a corporation? Well, I have a lot of stuff going on. And you can actually get some of it for free. My newest book, Ideas for New Businesses, if you are a Prime member of Amazon.com, you can download it and read it for free. Otherwise, it costs all of $2.99. And here I have copies at the conference for $10. But there are many other things. If you want an advanced look at this Prophet book before it's published, a look actually as I write it, as I say, there are patentable ideas in here. $1,000 will get you an advanced look at the book, at the manuscript, as I actually write it. So if you find an idea, you can take the patent. You can start your patent on it right now before the book is ever published. And go to it, guys. If you want to buy in to this whole profit enterprise, which will not only be the book profit, but any number of add-on titles in the manner of books for dummies, yeah, I'm looking for a partner. About $1.2 million will do it. I have a play, Visit from Antitrust Clause. If you want to produce it on a small stage, $100. Larger stage, $1,000. TV rights, $5,000. Radio, $100. This is a very, very interesting Christmas play. I have a major motion picture that if anyone's serious, I'll talk to them about. I imagine it's going to take about $70 million to produce, which is a mid-range level for such a thing. Now, I do a very interesting thing. I take interns. This is an intense 3-month internship for $10,000. If you have a person you want as a corporate individual to work with me, send me an application. I'll take a look at it. I'll see if I can do him some good or not. If I accept the application and accept the intern, then you pay me $10,000. And the intern lives with me for 3 months. Actually lives in my house. We work as close together as two individuals can ever work. Think if you had a chance to put a person with Steve Jobs for 3 months in his early training, how valuable would that be? You see what I do? I make no secret of it. See all the things I've got going? Yes. They can learn an immense amount from me during that time period. Presentations, I only do 6 a year, no more. And these are $2,000 to $30,000, depending. Industry consulting, maybe 2 or 3 a year, depends on what's involved. I do stand-up comedy, and I also do have for you 10 one-hour telephone consultations. And the way this works, you send me an email saying what you want to talk to me about. And I respond and see if I can help you. If I don't think I can, I won't. I will let you know that I don't think this is my area, that someone else would probably do you a better job. But if I accept it, then we have a 1-hour telephone conversation, group conversation, and you get a written follow-up report, all for $200. But I do only 10 of these now, so if you think you're interested, better get your dibs in early. Now, I will, of course, very eagerly accept grants, sure, both restricted and unrestricted. If they are restricted, then I may refuse it. If it's out of my area. And there are a lot of advanced degree possibilities working on these various aspects that I have mentioned. There are a lot of possible PhD topics in this presentation, for example. And in this presentation, I've highlighted those in blue. So if you look back through and you see a blue area, yeah, there's probably a PhD topic in there. So these, yeah, if it's an area of interest to your corporation, yeah, you should fund a PhD level program or a MS program to investigate some of these areas more fully. Well, thank you very much. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 400 YouTube videos, including 20 on how to start your own business, go to my website, www.hoviesmith.com. Goodbye, and God bless.